Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for part 2 of how to talk to your kids about race. If you're just now joining us, we recorded an earlier part of this conversation with Rebecca and Renee, part 1 on our YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. Something else you're gonna wanna check out is our Gwinnett Church page. We really have a whole page dedicated to talking about race and giving you some resources as you navigate this as an individual or as a family. So to learn more information about that, you can go to gwinnettchurch.org/race. Now today we're diving into part 2 of my conversation with Rebecca and Renee. So without further ado, here is the rest of our conversation. I think one of the things that some people may say is, well, what if I don't have any friends of color, right? I mean, so for many people out there, it's not that they don't even want to be empathetic or understand the other side. It's just that maybe that's just not in their normal interactions. One of the things I love about Coffee Moms and Friends of Coffee Moms is that you've really created a forum by which people can start having those conversations. So I would love for you to share with anyone watching, if they're so challenged to take a step, which I hope you are. I hope you're watching this because you want to take a step. I would love for you to talk about what you provide through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lauren. So Coffee Moms started about 2 years ago when my oldest was 4, my youngest was almost 2. And, I was navigating already some of the feelings that I expressed already that I was having, but just the unique challenges that face moms raising children of color. And I thought to myself, I know I can't be the only one. And community has been such a huge impact on my life, being involved in different community groups. I thought, hey, why not have a community of mothers who are raising children of color? And hence Coffee Moms, because we're all different shades of brown, like coffee. So we meet once a month and we have a different subject matter every month, but it's a community that exists for us to challenge each other, empower each other, be able to be there to support each other. It's a beautiful space for women of color and a positive space. There's not too many positive spaces with women of color. And so I really wanted to create that. Now, with me having that community, I posted a lot about it on social media. And one of my white mom friends says to me, Renee, I love what you're doing. And really, I would love to hear so that I can know more about what those challenges are. I want to come alongside you and be able to empathize more and know what I don't know. And so when she approached me with that, I thought, let's meet for coffee and talk more about this. And out of that conversation, developed the idea to have a roundtable discussion with moms of all backgrounds to talk about what was different for us raising children of color. What were the unique challenges? And that discussion happened almost 2 years ago now. And since then, we have had 4 others on different subject matters. And it has just provided for women to support each other through the common bond of motherhood, really dispelling this us versus them mentality. It's also allowed us to expand our circle to more diverse friendships. So that way now our hearts can feel what the others feel because we're connected in community. And that's the Friends of Coffee Moms community. And so I'm blown away at what God has done through both of these communities and blown away by the bravery that each woman that has entered into these conversations that they've had in order to personally help themselves be a better mom, but also a better woman of God too. So there's a wonderful TED Talk that my co-leader of the group, Officer Peterson, he actually, when he shared his story in our small group, referred to that TED Talk. And it's called Mending Broken Trust by Charles Ramsey, who's a former police chief of Philadelphia. And he talks about dignity. And he talks about how when you're born into this world, well, when you're created, you're at a 10. But when you're born, you lose 3 just because nobody's perfect. And then if you come from a family that is a marginalized group or family of color, then you take away 3 more. And then if you come from a broken home or experience poverty or anything like that, you take away 3 more. So a lot of people are walking around with just 1 left, 1.
Yes.
And he polices in a way that he is not going to take away that one shred of dignity that that person has left. And he doesn't know what the number is of the person that he's interacting with. He just goes into every situation knowing that this person could have only one left. And I think when you have that perspective and when you go into it with that posture, when you're in law enforcement, people know without wearing a label. They can just tell. I mean, I knew that when I first met Officer Peterson, that he was different. He didn't have to wear a label. I just knew. And
he was white, right, Renee? You mentioned that, so I just wanted to reference that.
Yeah.
But you felt a palatable difference from him.
I did. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I could just tell right away something was different, which made me want to enter into that community with him co-leading because I just knew he was different.
And I think my only concern is that when there's a crisis happening, that if a person needs help and they're incredibly vulnerable, that if you're in a situation where there's not a crisis, I feel like that you don't have the level of vulnerability in terms of safety if you're going to live through it or not. But when you're in a situation where you've got to decide, am I going to, because all of this is happening when they just drive up, like they hadn't gotten out of the car. They haven't said anything. They haven't walked towards you. None of that has even happened. And just as they have to make a decision in a split second, the people who are in need of the assistance have to make a decision in a split second. And so sometimes I just don't think that there's always enough time to decide, particularly if your experiences have not given you a reason to this time trust. And I think that is the only reason. And I get what you're saying about, well, we don't want people to wear labels, because you're right. Our hearts should extend beyond our physical capacity. But if you are already so vulnerable, I don't know if you can discern in the same way, but maybe a difference might be that because if we create opportunities like what you have, where there's conversations and you get to know the individual, when they show up, there may be, oh, hey, Joe. And you immediately, okay, they know me. Okay, we can talk this out or whatever. But so I think there's an opportunity to bridge more of those relationships prior to the crisis, so that you feel like you know these guys. Yeah. But right now, some of people are not even open because of the history and what's gone before. So I just kind of rambled, but there's that. Yeah,
that's great. Renee, thank you so much for sharing with us your experience, and honestly, just having the boldness to say, I'm going to do a ride along. I mean, I know that was through Leadership Gwinnett, but I mean, to do that, to ask questions, to form a group around this, and to honestly, I think, listen to the Holy Spirit's nudges in your hearts, because I feel like you have opened up so many moms to understanding different perspectives that they may have never heard before. So I'm so thankful for that. And I think when it comes to being moms, no matter what the color of our skin is, there's one thing we can all say, that we love our babies fiercely. I mean, right? Like there is absolutely more that unites us as mothers than anything. It's, our children, and they can be 40 years old and they can be 3, and it does not matter. That passion and desire and love for them is so fierce. And so, I just would love, as we kind of conclude our time together, is to say, we all have a common bond of motherhood. But in the uniqueness that is race and skin color specifically, I would love for you all, as African-American moms raising and having raised, Rebecca, children, what would you want a white mom to know? What is your wish for them? What is your desire? If you could do this one thing, this is what it would be. What would you share with us?
I would say that I just want you to love my kid, all the things that are good about them, right? That even when you see something that in your experiences may look different than what you're used to, see the beauty in it, because I don't think that we only see what's wrong, right? Like if we look for good, you find good. You find the heart of that child, and that as the relationship grows and as the the African-American male, my son, who was a little guy, so cute. And well, he may have never really been little, but that's another side note, right? But as he gets older, he's still that sweet kid that you knew when he was 6.
Yeah.
That when he turns 11, he's still a sweet kid, even though he's a little bit awkward now. He's a little bit bigger and there's a little bit of hair on his face. And then he gets to be 15 and 17 and 18, because at the heart of every son is somebody's kid. He was a little boy at one point. And if how you would want your child seen is how I want you to see my son, when he comes over, or how it is that when he's 6, it's okay for him to spend the night. And when he's 8, it still seems okay for him to spend the night. But then when he gets to be 11, the invitations don't come as often. Like, what is that? Did something change? Did they really grow apart? Like, did that really happen? Or in jest of, if you have a situation where kids are in and out of each other's, yards playing with toys, but then there's an accusation that he was stealing. It's like, wait, we've always just gone back and forth and gotten toys.
Right.
Why is he accused of stealing now when we're just doing what he always did? But see, when a 3-year-old comes and grabs something, it's not a big deal. But when he's 10 and he's a little taller, now you think he's stealing. So it's just that we don't even realize that we've got some of those stereotypes going on, or those biases, or those underlying beliefs that we're attaching now to a person, to a child that we know, that just aren't true or aren't real. Maybe we should ask some more questions before we label it and call it something that's very negative.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Renee, what would you say?
Well, for any white mother out there, and Lauren, speaking to you and anybody else that has that question, first thing I would say is be okay with things not going the way that you want them to go, should you take a step towards someone who's different. So if you acknowledge at the beginning, hey, this is messy and I'm going to make a mistake, it actually helps soften the blow when that mistake happens. And then you can learn from that and grow and move forward. I think a lot of times, and I'm just speaking from the conversations I've had with my white mom friends, they've expressed that they've been hesitant to move towards a mom that was different, or anyone that was different, specifically because they were afraid they would offend, or they were afraid they didn't know what to say. And so they said nothing. And so acknowledging the fact that it's messy and you're going to make a mistake, it is okay. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing that I would say is that as a mom, and I know, Lauren, yourself, you're raising 3 white boys, but as a mom raising white children, being comfortable with your privilege and acknowledging it and helping your children understand that as well, but understanding it as a gift. The privilege that you have, that you were born into, being a white American, is a gift. It's not something that is meant to hurt or harm. I know a lot of people hear the term white privilege and they assume that it's meant for a negative thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's a gift. And if you lean into that and pray through it, you know how to leverage that gift to give a voice to those whose voices have been dimmed and marginalized. So you have such an opportunity raising white children to help them understand that privilege and leverage it for good.
Wow. If I can add one thing to that.
Please.
Renee, when you said that about people hesitate to speak to someone for fear that they'll do the wrong thing, I just want white moms and parents to hear this very clearly. Saying nothing is far worse than saying the wrong thing.
That's good.
I mean, far worse, because what your friends see and they feel is that I thought that they cared, and they really don't, because they didn't call. I can better accept call and then something be said that we can clean up, as I call it, rather than just not call at all. That is the worst thing that can be done, is silence. Because silence, I'm going to make up a story. They really don't care about me, or they really don't care about my family. And that won't be the truth either. But I don't have anything to say that's different than that, because people who care, they reach out and they check on you, and that's just what they do. even when they don't have words. Sometimes you just call and say, I have no idea what to say, but I'm going to call you anyway.
I resonate so much with that, because I think, Rebecca, when someone passes away, you never have the right words, right? And yet you still enter into the silence and awkwardness of that conversation. Yes. Yet sometimes I think there's such a hesitancy to say, I'm sorry. And I don't even know I don't even know fully how this is impacting you, but I'm just sorry would mean so much. And I mean, I know that is a growth area for me personally, is to say, hey, that's not going to bother them if you text. That's actually a gift for you to say, I see you, and I know that this has to be hard. And so that's a great reminder as well. I just want to thank you both for coming to talk about this today. It is an honor to be able to dive into even the beginnings of this conversation. And, I'm reminded of when Jesus prayed to his Heavenly Father. He said, make them one, and he was talking about the disciples, but he's like, make them one as you and I are one, and isn't that why we are a church and we say we're for each other? And we really believe that is because part of really us having unity as people is being for one another. That's where oneness comes from. And it begins, like you guys just said, with the text, with helping my children understand what they've been given and using that in that way to help other people and to understand and to build empathy and to create self-awareness. And for some people today, it may just be that they say, I'm going to join a Coffee Moms group because I need to grow in my awareness and connection with other people. This is so helpful. And I just think for any of us out there that are saying, I want to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem, the way we create oneness, just like Jesus prayed for us, is to be for each other. And that's not just to say it in word, but to actually do it in deed. And so you guys have given us some incredible ways to do that. Indeed. And I really hope this is a conversation as we move forward. As Gwinnett Church, we have a United series that's a really great conversation for small groups, or maybe even just for your spouse or a group of friends, just to get around. That's a huge way. But also, I would love for you all to tell us how we can stay in touch with you, ladies, because you're amazing women and you're leaders in this conversation. And so would you guys just let us know how we can stay connected to you as well?
Absolutely. So I've been hosting Safe Spaces conversations. It's been on Thursday evenings at 7:30 p.m. There, it's on my Facebook. So Rebecca Munlin, and it's just offered an opportunity to just openly speak about our hearts, our experiences, the things that we want to seek understanding about. Because this isn't about anyone being an expert. It's about us sharing and connecting. And all of this work is hard work. And so once we're willing to enter in with that and be willing to be vulnerable and look at ourselves and to be open to what feedback that we receive and not take it as some type of a judgment that now we're bad people because we see these areas in our lives that we could do better. We all have things that we need to do better at. And so I think those safe space conversations is a good place to start.
That's great, Rebecca. Thank you for allowing us just to enter into those conversations. That's great. We'll include that.
It's been a joy to be here.
Yeah, no, we're going to include your information in the show notes and all of that too. So I believe almost all, if you're a mom, you're on Facebook usually. So anyway,
exactly, right?
I mean, seriously. So how else do we get our information, So that's great, Rebecca. Thank you. Renee, tell us about how we can stay connected with you.
Yeah. So if you're wanting to get involved with Friends of Coffee Moms, you can actually follow us on Instagram at Friends of Coffee Moms. And we also have a Facebook page, Friends of Coffee Moms there as well. And that's where we post all of the information about events that we host. We actually try to do those 2 to 3 times a year on the large scale. And then out of those events, you can form a smaller group community where you can meet once a month or whatever the frequency is that you feel like you would like to meet with the smaller groups that form out of those larger ones. So, but if you want information just about the organization, again, Friends of Coffee Moms on Instagram and Facebook.
That's awesome. Hey, I'm just so thankful for you all. Thank you for having this conversation. And thank you for those of you who are tuning in. For some, this may be your very first step into this conversation that I think could radically impact your family and yourself forever. And I think it's a step we get to take by being for one another in this community. So thanks for watching today. Thanks for taking a step. And thank you, Renee and Rebecca, for being a part of it. And we'll see you soon.